Welcome to the Doggy Dutch audio stories, where weekly card readings open into reflections on manifestation, systems, sovereignty, and everyday life. Brought to you by the Etsy shop Alchemy of Me. The line is not the limit coloring book and the walking the universe ecosystem for manifestation. Episode 8. Have you ever heard yourself say something ordinary and realize the sentence carried more fear than fact? This episode is for those moments.
The story for today is titled, Before the Pencil Moved to Sketch.
Dutch has been reflecting on his social justice and manifestation oracle card pull, a reading drawn using the thesis of his oracle cards for social justice, available from the Etsy shop Alchemy of Me.
The cards that came forward were Rediscover Abundance, Reclaim Storytelling, Remove Socialization, and Reemerge Whole.
Dutch has been letting the cards sit beside him.
He has been carrying the reading quietly
And noticing what reveals itself.
A day ago, Dutch took a sketch pad to his favorite spot by the lake.
It was a beautiful day, the kind of day that made the trees look almost arranged.
The water was still and peaceful enough that even small ripples held their shape for a while.
Dutch had not gone to the lake to solve anything.
Not to journal or do self-work.
He simply wanted nature, to enjoy the weather, and to sketch for a bit.
The sketch pad rested open in front of him, pencil at the ready.
He had intended to draw the scenery, but the page stayed blank.
Because instead of his pencil being drawn toward the trees and the lake, his thoughts were drawn elsewhere.
Lately, Dutch has noticed how often certain sentences automatically leave his mouth. Simple sentences, ordinary ones.
Things like, I can't afford that, or I have no money.
And although the words sometimes match the moment, they did not sit right with Dutch.
In one way, the words describe something real.
But in another way, they felt like lack.
Like collapse.
Like fear disguised as fact.
Like scarcity socialization.
That was when his reading came to mind.
Starting with the card, Rediscover Abundance. Dutch thought, if abundance is something to rediscover, then perhaps it is not ever absent.
Perhaps it is there always, even when not immediately visible.
And if that were so, then scarcity could not be the full story.
This caused Dutch to think about the Reclaim Storytelling card.
Dutch realized that language like, I can't, was repeating a story.
A scarcity story that had been fed to him.
A story that had been spoken so often socially and culturally.
Repeated so often across time and space. It became accepted as reality.
But it was a story nonetheless.
One that collapsed him.
Causing anxiety in his body.
Fear in his thoughts.
And lack to infiltrate his actions.
That was when remove socialization came to mind. With that card now beside him, rather than simply agreeing with a story that made the scarcity arrive as a reflex, Dutch started asking himself questions that challenged his conditioning. Questions like, what if it's not lack? What if it is timing? Sequencing? Priority?
And as those questions opened, Dutch found himself interrogating something else too. The manifestation dogma that was being taught everywhere. He examined how those teachings quietly suggested that every limit, every hesitation, every no or not right now experience had to mean something was wrong inside him. Teachings that not only made system-driven financial realities sound personal, but also made every moment of constraint into a report card from the universe regarding him, his belief, or his vibration.
The more he sat with contemporary manifestation teachings, the more they began to feel like a wolf in sheep's clothing, something disguised gently, but carrying blame underneath, dogma that sounded supportive, but that quietly wielded indictment. Because when manifestation did not arrive, the message often became, do more, be better, correct yourself. A kind of soft accusation that nefariously created individual blame and shame and ignored systems.
Sitting by the lake, Dutch wondered if some realities belonged to living inside systems that had not only taught scarcity, but built structures that produced it. Structures designed to normalize lack, until struggle could sound personal, even when it was structural.
Just then, a soft breeze moved across the lake, and with it, Dutch's attention returned to language, to gathering words that did not immediately ooze lack or scarcity.
Dutch knew he would need to let these thoughts ripple for a while.
Dutch had found that when I can't collapse him, it's not my priority right now, preserved agency.
One reinforced deficit, the other affirmed authorship.
Dutch started thinking that instead of language such as, I can't, he could use words like, I'm not choosing that right now.
And instead of, that's impossible, he can try. That is downstream for me.
This new language does not change the numbers.
But Dutch noticed that it was helping him with abundance.
It was helping him with the stories he was telling himself.
It was helping him with his socialization.
And it was helping him with re-emerging whole.
Dutch wonders if language is one place lack and scarcity socialization hide in plain sight.
Inside ordinary phrases, spoken often enough,
and heard often enough, that they begin to sound unquestionable.
Instead of drawing, Dutch spent his time at the lake wondering if sometimes rediscovering abundance, reclaiming storytelling, removing socialization, and re-emerging whole was not about erasing conditioned lack and scarcity anxiety, but about refusing to narrate reality in ways that strip him of agency.
As Dutch packed up his sketchpad to leave, the page was still blank, but he was not leaving empty-handed.
First, Dutch was beginning to see how certain manifestation teachings can quietly turn ordinary financial realities into self-judgment.
And he was starting to wonder if perhaps some of what had felt personal was never fully personal.
If perhaps scarcity had been taught so thoroughly that it could sound like truth.
And if that were probable,
then perhaps moments of hardship or financial reality were not always moments to force himself to vibrate differently,
but moments to hold his humanity more carefully.
And second, Dutch was beginning to assemble language that did not feel like collapse.
Language that did not erase choice.
Language he knew he would keep refining.
Because some sentences left him smaller,
while others allowed him to remain fully inside the moment.
As Dutch left the lake, he thought,
perhaps not every moment of fear, anxiety, or financial reality needed to become a report card on his belief, his worth, or his vibration.
Because some realities belong to living inside systems that had not only taught scarcity, but built structures that produced it.
Structures designed to normalize lack.
To make struggle feel ordinary.
Until it could sound personal.
Even when it was structural. And perhaps part of removing such socialization was using language that did not fall into lack, but that held choice, clarity, and dignity.
Language that allowed him to re-emerge whole, without needing to vibrate higher, ignore his humanity, or pretend his present reality was something else.
Language that acknowledged structures were there, while still carving out room for sovereignty.
The end. If something in this met you, take a breath with Dutch and let it simmer for a moment. Let's breathe in. 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold together. 4, 3, 2, 1. And now we exhale. 4, 3, 2, 1. Thanks for listening. Until next time, keep noticing what reveals itself along the way. And remember, if you wanted your own readings, the Thesis of a Social Justice Oracle cards are available for print and immediate download at Alchemy of Me on Etsy.